and welcome back to our quick lessons on poetry writing. Today we're talking about part 2, poetic forms. So one thing we want to talk about is the different parts of a poem, and today we're only focusing on lines and stanzas. So let's talk about lines of poetry. So every poem has multiple lines. Let's take a look at this poem here on the right side of your screen titled March. So most poems are written in lines, right, going from left to right, and a group of lines in a poem is called a stanza. So we'll talk about that in the next slide. However, take a look. A blue day is one line. A blue jay is another line. And a good beginning is another line. So there's 3 lines here. Now let's take a look at stanzas. So stanzas are a group of lines, and they are separated by ideas in a poem, and they almost kind of look like paragraphs. In this poem here, March, we have 2 stanzas. So the first group of lines is the first stanza, and then the next group of lines is a different stanza. So there's 2 stanzas here. Notice how in between the stanza there is a space. So let's take a look at this example, where the sidewalk ends. In this poem, how many lines do we see? Notice they are numbered, right? So every line is numbered. There is a total of 16 lines in this poem. Now look closely at how many stanzas there are. Notice, remember that a stanza is sort of like a paragraph, right? And it's usually divided with a space. So there's actually 3 total stanzas in this poem. Now let's talk about rhyming scheme. Now many poems, as you know, could rhyme. Do they all have to rhyme? No, not necessarily. But if you do want to make your poem rhyme, you do have to follow some type of pattern. So let's take a look at what authors or poets use. So there's different types of rhyme schemes. The first one we're going to take a look at is end rhyme. And basically what that means is that the rhyme happens at the end of each line. So in this poem, Tulip, Tulip, notice that there are 3 stanzas. Do you see that? So this group of lines is 1, 2, and 3. So in these 3 stanzas, each line at the end rhymes with each other. So in the first stanza, we have pug and mug. In the second stanza, we have suckle and buckle. So you see how the end words are rhyming with each other? And then in the third stanza, we have do and to. So this poem follows an end rhyme scheme. Now let's take a look at this type of rhyming scheme. Now we're taking a look at internal rhyming. Internal rhyming is where the rhyme is happening within the same line. So again, this poem also has 3 stanzas, right? And each stanza has 2 lines. This is 1 stanza, 2, and 3. And they each have 2 lines. So now it happens internally. Okay, so an internal rhyme, it means that it happens within each line or within the last line as you see here. So in the first stanza we have crazy and hazy. Then we have black and attack and puddles and cuddle. So you see how these words are rhyming with each other within each stanza, right? And it happens within the stanza. So the author decided, or the poet decided, to use the last line in each stanza have an internal, so a word in the middle of that line that rhymes with the end. So that's another example of a rhyme scheme. Now, how do we find a rhyme scheme? And a lot of poets do this. They want to have a plan before they start writing. And you could do this as well when you're writing your poem. So line or rhyme schemes are words that have the same ending sound, and they can be found at the end of the poems. Now this poem that you see on your screen is obviously a very simple poem that we just came up with to show you an example of a rhyme scheme and how to identify it. So notice, it says, I had a cat who was so fat He could not sit. He did not fit. As he did not fit. So obviously there's more to this poem. So this is just the beginning. Notice that the last words in each line is underlined. We have cat, fat, sit, and fit. Now, the word cat rhymes with the word fat, right? And the first letter in the alphabet is, you guessed it, the letter A. So we add an A there. Now, because fat rhymes with cat, that's also an A, right? Because these two words rhyme. The next word or group of words that rhyme is sit and fit. What is the next letter in the alphabet that comes after A? I hope you said B, right? So fit or sit and fit rhyme. So this becomes a B rhyme. Now, if I continued the poem and the next line rhymed with cat and fat, maybe it's sat, then the next line would be an A. Okay, but because this poem only has 4 lines, right, or in this stanza there's only 4 lines, the rhyme scheme in this stanza is AABB. All right, let's take a look at another example to make sure we understand that. So remember this poem, The Strongest Girl Light Ever Knew? So I'm looking just at the beginning. So I'm looking at the first stanza. We notice that this poem has several stanzas, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 stanzas. But I'm only looking at the first stanza. So we have dance, prom, chance, and from. Notice I highlighted the words in the same colors that rhymed. So dance and chance rhyme, right? So the first letter, because the first word is dance, it's going to be an A. So chance also rhymes with dance, so that also becomes an A. Now, prom and from rhyme, and the next letter is B. So the rhyme scheme for the first stanza of this poem is A, B, A, B. Does that make sense? Let's practice. I'm going to read the next poem, and I want you to tell me what is the rhyme scheme that's being used. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. So we have star, R, high, and sky. What is the rhyme scheme? Okay, if you said the rhyme scheme is A, B, B, you are correct. So take a look. Star and R rhyme, and high and sky rhyme. So because star is the first word, that gets an A, and R rhymes with star, so that's also an A. And then high is the new rhyming word, so the B goes there, and sky rhymes with high, so B. So the rhyme scheme here is A, B, B. Now, I know that many times rhyming is difficult because you have to come up with these words that rhyme, but you also need to make sure that your poem makes sense, right? So if you need words that rhyme, or if you're trying to find specific words that rhyme with each other, and you also want to make sure that it makes sense, you could take a look at this website. So rhymezone.com is a great website to help you find more words that rhyme. So you just type in one word, and then it gives you a list of many words that rhyme with that one word, and then of course you get to see which fits with what you're saying and that it makes sense.